at it. Good, bad, nothing. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. It's the Rant. I'm Pugs Moran. We do this every day from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios. It's talk radio for normal people. Here's how the show is done. I do it as a stream of consciousness. That means that I just go through all of this stuff that I've prepared, current events, hot topics, whatever it is that's happening in the world, and I just riff on the stuff that I find interesting. Talk radio for normal people. Why do I say this? Well, because I think that there's a whole lot of abnormal fucks walking around out there, and most of them are occupying, well-paid and, more to the point, insurance coverage jobs in terrestrial radio. It's the only reason these guys are still in terrestrial radio. Seriously, it's about the good corporate insurance. I'm convinced of it. It's the only reason that I would consider going back to terrestrial radio at this stage of my career, which is nowhere. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, that's what stage we're at. We're at a transitioning stage. I'm cocooning as a media personality, I think. Hi, Ty. Ty Ronda's in the chat room. Sorry, I'm having a problem with my microphone. Hi, Al. Al is here. All right, the show plays out in 4 quarters, 4 segments. The first one, it's called Antecedently on This Day. Just a fancy way of saying this day in history. I pull some things from the past and I go, hey, did you know this happened on this day 300 years ago? And we riff on it. It's fun and sometimes tedious, but we do it. Quarter 2 is birthdays. Birthdays are people having birthdays today. Not everybody. Probably not going to mention your Aunt Joan, no, but celebrities, notable quotables, that kind of thing. Deads is quarter 3. That's the third one we go to. We start talking about people who died on this day. People who died. Heaven or hell. We look at them, we're like, oh, this person died. And this person's kind of an asshole. Okay, put them in hell. That's what we do in quarter 3. Sentence people to hell or elevate them to the eternal grace of God's warm embrace. All right. What else? Quarter 4. That's the hot topics and stuff. That's all the stuff we talk about. Also, if you're interested, I do an in-depth nightly Did He or Didn't He podcast that can be found on radiomisfits.com. Did he or didn't he covers the day's events in the Sean Diddy Combs trial happening in New York City. I've been doing it every day and I am obsessed with it. So join me. Find me over there at radiomisfits.com. Did he or didn't he? Or if you want to watch it, you can go to YouTube, Radio Misfits on YouTube, or you can go to where else can you watch it? Facebook. All right, just make friends with Radio Misfits on Facebook. That's where you can watch Did He or Didn't He every day. Big things happening today. We learned about Bongo. I'm just going to call her Bongo. She's got a very exotic name. She's on the stand right now. She's a friend of Cassie's. She's a former model. Diddy dangled her over a 17-story staircase. Details on that tonight on Did He or Didn't He? Only on radiomisfits.com. Trivia was last night. We need to talk about trivia last night. Trivia was fun. Shout out Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Joe was having his 85th birthday party in the next room. The Grandpa Joe crowd, they played a couple of games of trivia. They weren't that great. They didn't even make it into the top 3, but it was wonderful seeing them out there. Grandpa Joe, 85, man, 85. He's at the back 9, 4060 Beltline Road, surrounded by like 100 of his grandkids and shit. It was cool. Cool. I had a Grandpa Joe. My grandpa was a Grandpa Joe, so I thought that was great. Nice guy. Said hi to him. Wished him a happy birthday, Grandpa Joe. But the big news that emanated out of trivia last night at the back 9 that we do every Tuesday is that for the very first time in the history of me doing trivia there, which is about 10 weeks now, so, that's a lot of rounds of trivia. That is a lot of single round cards that have been handed in after trivia that I've been doing. We had, for the very first time last night, we had a perfect card. Somebody scored 20 out of 20. That somebody is one of you. That's Bill Falk from the chat room. Billy Falk. James Parker, he was talking a lot about how he was going to run the table and he could clear a card and you could get a perfect score. James Parker, afternoons on WBAP 93.3 right here in Dallas, if you're so inclined. James had to boogie. He had to leave. He's like, I got to go. Something came up. I don't know. He's got 50 kids, so it could be anything, but there you go. James was there for a while. Yeah, man. Bill Folk, the madman. Look at him. He was the first couple of weeks of trivia. He was the champion. It's fallen off a little. He's probably not even ranked in the top 2 of weekly trivia players anymore. That April might be. April from the chat room. She also crushes it in trivia. April does really well. I think April was in 3rd place last night. Anyway, the thing about Bill is, after early dominance in this weekly trivia tournament, he has sort of settled back into the pack, but he's a guy who can prove or has proved that he can podium. It's like Formula One. Trivia is like Formula One. Sure, somebody's going to win every week, but, at the end of the season, it's who finished 3rd the most, really. Those are the guys that go home with the trophy. Bill Folk reminding everybody last night who used to dominate this trivia tournament with the first perfect card. Good for you, Bill Folk. You should get a prize. You should get a prize for a perfect card. I think, you know what? I think that's it. I think perfect cards, because we give out $10 gift cards for winners. Like, we give out drugs. We give out big first place gets their choice of everything that we got. More often than not, they choose the big bag of drugs. Thank you, Sacred Oils. Sacred Oils gives us a big bag of gummies. What? Well, they can't be real gummies. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird to me, too. I thought it was illegal, but it's not illegal, but it's soon to be illegal again. But loopholes, let's go. While the loophole is open, we're giving out drugs every night. Every trivia night. But we also have gift cards. So gift cards, they come in increments of $10, and they're gift cards to the back 9. So you can get your bill taken care of if you do well at trivia. Or maybe not. I think you have to use it the next week. I think that's the trick there. But whatever. So come back next week. What do you mean a dick? You won the week before. You don't let people get a chance to, take you down. So what I think I'm going to start doing is instead of just giving like second place $30 in gift cards, I think what we're going to start doing is awarding like individual things. Like a perfect card should get something. A perfect card, no matter where you finish in the night's tournament, you should get maybe at least a $10 gift certificate, right? I think that, or something more. Maybe some cookies. Maybe you get a cookie. You get a weed cookie if you want it. All right, there you go. Hi, Leslie. Leslie C is in the chat room. We always love to see Leslie. We got Leslie. We got Mikey D. And that's it. We're a slow room today. Or at least that's as many as I can see. Did the scheduling not go out? I don't know. Who knows? Okay. What else do I need to talk about? All right, let's talk about Pledge Week. So it's Pledge Week. This show does not do advertising. We don't get any kind of, we're not being paid off by the Russian media or anything like that to, push narratives that people wouldn't expect. I know I'm someone that doesn't expect half the narratives that I suddenly hear being accepted as normal, but okay, whatever. So we do tips. So if you want to support the show for 3 years now, 4 years actually, we've been asking you to support the show via tips. That is either to Venmo or the Cash App. And you know what? For 3 years, it has been it's been working. And it's not working anymore. It's not working anymore. We have a Pledge Week, and we're in Pledge Week. And in the Pledge Week is, I don't shake the can all month anymore, because Pledge Week, I'm like, I just got to prove that this show can make $250 in a single week if we needed to. And we always did. And that's why we're on the air for 4 years. The last 3 months, we haven't. And if this month, the start of Pledge Week, is any indication, there is no fucking way possible this show is going to raise $250. And that's terrible. That's like shameful to me to even say, because who the fuck do I think I am doing this every day on something that can't even be commoditized to the tune of $250? So a lot of thoughts going on in the head about how to proceed and stuff. But I love doing it so much because I love this. That's the reason the delusion continues, is because you guys are fun, man. I mean, you guys are like my people. And then I get to see you out there at trivia and all that stuff. I don't know. I'm fucked up. You know that. But that's why some of you tune in, because you're like, hey, let's watch a crazy guy lose his mind. But anyway, it's been a fucking awful... saying that we need to raise $50 a day should not be hard, right? That's the conceit of Pledge Week. $250, $50 a day. It shouldn't be hard. So we got April tipped on Monday. Thank you. And we've got an executive producer today. Thank you so much, man. This dude he always fucking comes through. He just drops a little something every month. It's in the chat room every day. Fucking Barney, man. You're like my, yeah. Man, thank you, dude. I can't thank you enough. So Barney's our executive producer. The big tipper of the day becomes the executive producer. Yeah, so that's it. I mean, we've gotten 2 tips this week. So that's, kind of like the heavens screaming, hey, dumb fuck, get your head out of your ass and create a new business model. So that's what we're working on here. But like I said, man, I'll continue to do this. I'll continue to as long as we can, because this is like an addiction now for me. This is like my purpose. Like I get up, I start working, I start doing this, and it returns nothing. I mean, I got my side hustles and stuff. So, but this show, the amount of time that I put into this show every day has to be justified. And it's really not been. So 4 years though, we had fun. I think what we're probably looking at is shorter stuff. Like I don't know. 2 hours is a long time, and so we'll see. But whatever. I hate doing this part of it, so we're gonna move on now. And I'm going to tell you about my more. By the way, you can tip the show if you are so inclined. I'm going to leave that scrolling there at the bottom. Didn't put it up there at all yesterday. Thank you to Barney, our executive producer. If you want to be tomorrow's executive producer, all you got to be is the big tipper today. Support Talk for Normal People, which is obviously it's starting to become really clear that we're not the normal people. We're the minority. 70%. That fucking calculation is way wrong. I am way off on that. Too generous. All right. Let's see here. Let's get this off. So guess how I woke up this morning? All right. So check this out. So I wake up this morning, take the dog out for a walk. It's 8:15. This is a little earlier than normal, but kids aren't in school anymore. So I can walk the dog in the 8 o'clock hour. I used to not be able to walk the dog in the 8 o'clock hour because I live in a neighborhood where there's a school and the streets are packed with people dropping their kids off. Nobody fucking takes the bus anymore. Do you realize that I don't think Highland Park School District, or at least not the middle school that I live near, I don't ever see any buses. I see every day hundreds and hundreds of Range Rovers and Lexuses and Mercedes-Benzes and Jaguars, and every once in a while, Dad will drop the kid off in the super Lamborghini or whatever. I see that. Who the fuck are these parents that are driving their kids to school every day? When did this happen? What the fuck? This is another problem. Seriously, man, this is another problem with our kids. They're not riding buses. Do you know that there is no better microcosm for the world that a child will face than a fucking school bus? You learn so much on the goddamn school bus. I don't know how much you learn pouting in the driver's seat next to Dad. Have a good day, pumpkin. Anyway, I can walk the dog. See, that's a stream of consciousness. I just went on a rant there for a minute. So anyway, I can walk the dog now in the 8 o'clock hour because the streets aren't filled with these people, these money rats. This is not filled. And I'll be honest with you, it's not the problem that the streets are filled and it's really busy and all that. It's that the other thing is these people all drop their kids off to school with their dogs in the back seat. And so there's this parade of kids being dropped off from school, moving at about 1.5 miles per hour down the street that I'm walking the dog. Just an endless line of $100,000 SUVs with daddy's little princes and princesses being dropped off to school because the school buses think for poor people. I guess. I don't know. Is that what they're thinking? So just this long line of slow-moving cars, and every single one of them has a fucking golden retriever. Yeah, they're all golden retrievers. A fucking golden retriever hanging out the window talking shit to my dog. And my dog goes nuts. The fuck you say? What? Meanwhile, I'm dragging my dog by the choker collar up to the next dog. Oh, it's another golden talking shit. You suck. So that's why I can't walk the dog typically in the 8 o'clock hour. I have to wait till 9 because that shit's just way too stimulating for her. So anyway, the kids are out of school, so I can go out earlier. So I took the dog for a walk this morning at about 8:15, and it's nice, quiet. Beautiful neighborhood, quiet, birds chirping, all that shit. Come around the corner. Now, I've told you this story a couple of times. I've mentioned Roof Dog, right? The legend of Roof Dog, Roof Dog is a dog who lives on the corner of Gulf and I don't know, what street is that? It's like a couple blocks over. So it's like Granada. Yes. Okay. So Roof Dog like lives on the corner of Gulf and Granada there in Dallas in University Park. And he's owned by an old man with dementia. Okay. So the old man doesn't fucking know what the dog is doing half the time. And this dog is never being minded. So much so that the dog climbs through a window when the old man's not paying attention and goes out on the roof of the house and just walks around on the roof and then jumps from the roof to the garage and then back to the garage to the roof. The police are out there all the time. The man has dementia. So it's like, we're going to let it happen. But here's the problem. Roof Dog is fucking aggressive. Roof Dog is like some kind of, he's probably 80, 85 pounds. Definitely got some pit in it, got the pit face and all that. He's one of them dogs, fucking muscular. He's a boy and he's angry. And, from time to time when I'd be walking my dog, CeeLo, who is also a handful, I'm walking CeeLo. We come around the corner and there's Roof Dog on the roof, like, rah, 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 like about to jump, like the roof of the garage, garage roofs. It's probably 8 feet up. So this dog, I'm 6 foot. The dog is 2 feet on top of me and threatening to jump down into the alley and start fighting with my dog. That's Roof Dog. I told you the story of Roof Dog. So today, 8:15, I'm walking the dog out, and we're like far, like we're a couple blocks away. We're into this walk. We're enjoying this walk. It's an early morning walk. We're going to get good 2 miles in. So we come up to the block where Roof Dog lives. And, I haven't seen Roof Dog in a long time. A couple of weeks back, Roof Dog got out and was running around in the street, and the police were there chasing it. Okay, so that was the last time. I thought that was fixed. So I'm walking down Granada, and I come to the corner there at Granada and Gulf, and there's a hedge, and me and the dog, and as we come around the hedge, there's fucking Roof Dog, except now Roof Dog is Lawn Dog. And Lawn Dog isn't on a leash or anything, and there is nobody anywhere. Oh, yeah. So guess what happens? I find myself at about 8:35 now, maybe, because 8:15 is when I left. So like about 8:35 now into this walk, I find myself refereeing a pit bull dog fight in the middle of one of the wealthiest zip codes in America. 8:35. Oh, they fought, people. Oh, guys. Oh, this was a dog fight. This was, you've heard stories about my dog CeeLo. She's a Catahoula and a Staffordshire Terrier mix. So pit bull. So she's a Catahoula and a pit bull. She is an incredibly big dog. Not big like an Irish Wolfhound or anything, but she's 120 pounds and she's all muscle. She's all muscle and fucking teeth and fucking attitude. She's a lovely little sweetheart, but she's a sweetheart in public. Like I can walk her, people can pet her. She's fine. But, don't come to the door. Anyway, so now I got this Roof Dog, who's now Lawn Dog, and it jumps out from behind the bushes and tackles my dog. Have you ever heard the noises that dogs make? Okay, so what's my instinct as an owner? Well, first I yelled, fuck, really loud. All the neighbors came out. All the neighbors hear this. There's like people coming out, people in, bathrobes and shit holding their coffee. Somebody call the police. And I'm standing there in the middle trying to break up a fight between 2 pit bulls. By the way, not a fucking mark on me. Not a fucking mark on me. So anyway, this dog isn't on a leash. This dog's owner has dementia and is, I don't know, he could be in Cuba for all we know. This dog is just on the lawn. And now the dog jumps out of the bushes, tackles my dog from the side, just like, and now they're on the ground and they're going, and my dog's on a leash, on a choker leash. And my first instinct was to pull my dog. And I'm like, fuck no. So I just dropped the leash and I said, you want to go? Go. Because I'm sorry, I've always said that this is what has to happen. I've been in this situation before with my dog. I am not going to be responsible for my dog getting injured in a fight because my dog was attacked by another dog and couldn't defend herself properly because I had her on a leash because I was trying to be, no. Once the other fucking dog is off the leash and fighting, dude, you got to give your dog every chance to defend herself. And here's the other thing. This is why you drop the leash. You drop the leash and you move away. My dumbass tried to break it up, but then I moved away. I was like, oh, fuck. You drop the leash and you move away because your dog that is attached to the leash that you are holding, your dog thinks in its head that it's you that's being attacked. The dog is not defending itself so much as trying to defend you. And that's like what she started to do. And I'm like, this ain't my fight. And so I just dropped the leash and I said, go. Well, I didn't say go. I was screaming, stop or fuck. Fuck is what I yelled. I yelled fuck at the loudest. I mean, that's why the people came out, if we're being honest. The dogs were being loud, but me going, fuck, what the fuck? I kept yelling because I was so angry because I knew what this was. This is that man with dementia who nobody is looking after, nobody is taking care of. Once again, allowing his fucking scary, menacing 85-pound pit bull to just run around in the neighborhood. And by the way, Roof Dog has never bitten anybody or anything like that. Roof Dog only seems to want to go after other dogs. Roof Dog doesn't care about people or show, it seems. Roof Dog wasn't attacking me. Roof Dog went after my dog. And it was over pretty quickly. It was as soon as I dropped the leash, as I said, my dog is much bigger, although it's a girl. So I don't know if that's a dynamic in dog fights. Like, do boy dogs just instinctively think they're bigger and tougher than girl dogs because CeeLo fucking just kicked the shit out of her. And here's what was so weird about it. Neither dogs were hurt. And I was really close to it. And CeeLo's all Edward Scissorhand things, claws. She's got super long claws. Her breed, Catahoula's, are tree climbers. So they have like super sharp claws to be able to go up trees after wild boar and bear and shit. So what ended up happening was when I dropped the leash, it became a dog wrestling match. It was the weirdest thing because I couldn't find any blood. I mean, I'm inspecting my dog everywhere. I'm like, is there blood? Are you scratched? These dogs were not biting or scratching each other. They were making noises that were the scariest noises. I mean, you ever heard dogs fight? I mean, it is fucking horrifying. So I dropped the leash, and once they started wrestling, it was, I don't know how to describe it because I don't mean to describe it in terms of a human fight, but it was kind of like a human fight. It was once the leash was dropped and CeeLo was no longer on the choker, she kind of just overpowered the other dog and like got on top of it. And it looked like my dog was mauling the other dog's neck, but no, she wasn't. And then CeeLo kind of backed off, like got up, like backed off, and the other dog just ran off. No, the dog did that thing where it runs off like 10 yards and then stops and starts talking shit again. And I'm like, oh, fuck you. And by this time, the neighbors had come out, and somebody who I assume maybe works for like a nurse or maybe a caregiver to the dementia guy who owns Roof Dog, she came out and she was crying. She was so fucking horrified by what was happening. And when Roof Dog got back to here, I'm like, is he okay? Is he okay? And she's like, oh, I missed this. And I'm like, don't worry. Mine's fine. I think we're fine. And then some dude who lives across the street, he's just standing in his driveway with a cup of coffee, and he goes, we got to call the police. And I turn and I go, don't call the police. I go, don't call the police, man. I go, come on, we know what this is, right? This guy, he's notorious in the neighborhood. I don't want to talk to the police. All right, I want to go home. I want to have my coffee. My dog's fine. That dog's fine. Fuck. So there you go. That was my morning. The adventure of me and Roof Dog. Yeah, fucking dog fights are scary, man. Ooh. The only other time I had an experience quite like that was with my old dog, Blue, and I watched her kill a coyote. Oh, God. She got into it with a coyote. I used to take my dog Blue off leash because she was fully trained, and she was a husky timber wolf mix, and she was fully trained, and she was gorgeous, and like, she really friendly and all that. But I used to take her out to the woods off leash and let her run around, and she got into it with a coyote. A coyote came up and they were circling each other. You ever seen animals do that where they circle each other? And then, I mean, Blue injured in this case, injured this coyote to the point where the coyote's neck was completely slashed. Blue had a white coat. She was a husky with a big white face, and it was all covered in blood for like years. The blood, there was for years later, there was just like a hint of the maroon where the blood was, and it's like, oh, fuck. So, you know what I had to do? You want to talk about fucking tough decisions. So this coyote, it's a coyote, okay? We're not taking it to the vet. Sorry, not go to the vet. It's coyote, all right? We're not taking squirrels to the vet. This is, the world. Stop it. And besides, I was 2 miles into like a forest preserve in the middle of the south side of Chicago. I wasn't going to carry a bloody fucking coyote like 2 miles back to my car in the parking lot. I'm in the forest. So you know what I had to do? The thing was suffering. So I went and I grabbed like a big rock. It was like a boulder. It was probably about 40 pounds. And I fucking dirt and there's worms and shit underneath it. And I just scooped it up from the fucking forest. And I just dropped it on the thing's head. I didn't know what I was doing. I don't even know if I killed it, but I know I knocked it unconscious. So that's good if it was in that bad. And then there was like a little ravine, like a little gully. Then I just kicked it with my feet and I kicked it down into the gully. And I'm like, circle of life. Circle of life. Something will find it and eat it. And then thing will have babies. And then that thing will get into a fight with my dog and it'll die. Circle of life. Hi, Jennifer. Jen Hernandez is in the chat room. Hi, Jen. Hi, Frankie. Ben Clark is here. All right. Tell your friends, man. Come on. All right. What do you say we get started? We got a lot of stuff we got to get into today. I feel like we're going to hit peak angry old white dude today. I'm very, very saucy, and there are some subjects here that, I'm going to say some things. So buckle up. Let's go. It is the Rant. I'm Pugs Moran. These are the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios. It is the 4th day of June, year of our Lord, 2025. Let's start with segment 1. We call it Antecedently on This Day. Here we go. Antecedently on this day in the year 1783, the Montgolfier brothers demonstrate their new invention, the hot air balloon. Hot air balloon. All right, it's not a big deal. So on this day in 1783, dudes invented the hot air balloon. 1 year later on this day in 1784, Elizabeth Fibble becomes the first woman to fly in a hot air balloon. She got up to 6,000 feet. That's not bad for like 1784. Stupid for 1784. Let's not kid ourselves. Doing something like that, now is probably different. We have medical science. Back then, she falls out of the balloon at 30 feet. They're using leeches to do surgery on her. It's first. All right, can we just stop? All right, I was going into a bad. I really do have hot takes on ballooning. I also have hot takes on this being something that we commemorate. The first woman to go in a hot air balloon? Really? Okay, so you realize she's not a pilot, she's not a navigator, she's just a woman. They just put a woman in the basket and went, there we go, we got a woman. Let's etch her name into mountainsides. She's the first woman. First woman to go in. That is really a classification that we're wowed by, but okay, I guess we are. But ballooning in general, man, that is something, up here in Plano, we have that big international, the Plano Balloon Festival. It's like the largest ballooning festival in the whole world. And every couple of years, something goes tragic, something goes wrong, and you hear about, there is no appeal for me in ballooning. Oh, let's get in a balloon. Let some carnival fucking worker running this thing. Who are these people that run balloon companies? Who are these people? Yeah, ballooning. Antecedently on this day in 1876, an express train called the Transcontinental Express arrives in San Francisco. It is the first transcontinental train ride, delivering passengers from New York City's Grand Central Station to San Francisco on this day in 1876. Question, how long did that take? So in 1876, they had this new invention, kid. What did they say? 1876. That was I was kind of going into a 1930s gangster guy. I have no idea what they sounded like in 1876. In 1876, a train ride, would probably take you forever to get from New York to California. And I don't even know what forever is. What are we talking? 2 weeks, maybe? Something like that. I think, wasn't that kind of the standard journey? I had always heard like 2 weeks to go from New York to the West Coast. Okay, so on this day, all of a sudden, there was a new train that could cut that 2 weeks down to, ready? New York to San Francisco, 83 hours. 83 hours. That's pretty good. That's pretty good innovation. I mean, it sucks today. Like, do you want to spend 83 hours traveling anywhere? I mean, look, the whole reason, look, I love Australia. I love Australia. And I think New Zealand looks like heaven on earth. But I will never go there because until they move it closer, that's too long in the air. Nope. No, thank you. It's also why I don't understand why people go to Hawaii. Why you fucks go to Hawaii when Jamaica, Bahamas, we've got like the greatest island nations, like an hour and a half plane ride away. What the fuck are you people getting on a plane and going to Bali for or Hawaii? All right, keep going. All right, on this day, antecedently in the year 1939, during the, Jesus, nope, not going to do that one. On this day, I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood to talk about how on this day in 1939, the MS St. Louis tried to dock here in America and they were turned away. The MS St. Louis is one of the most disgusting and upsetting stories in our grand American history. We don't teach about the MS St. Louis in schools. We should, because the MS St. Louis was filled with persecuted Jews from Germany who were fleeing the concentration camps. They all loaded on a boat and they were looking for safe haven somewhere, and they came to the land of opportunity, the United States of America. And guess what the United States of America said? Get the fuck out. Nope. We don't want that smoke. That's what our attitude was back then. Now, look, it is also important for us to provide context here. The United States of 1939 is not the United States of 1949. Or the United States of 1959, 69, 79, okay? We were yet to be the unrivaled superpower land of opportunity. We were still kind of an upstart. Yeah, we helped out in World War I, but let's be honest, the Brits and the French take credit for that. It wasn't until the end of World War II that people went, fuck, these guys are legit. So 1939, we didn't really want to piss off Hitler. We didn't really want to declare that, oh, what he's doing is, inhumane and immoral and all. We didn't want to do that yet. Because we didn't want to deal with the smoke. We just sent a whole bunch of people. Here it is. How many were forced to return? 963 German Jewish refugees denied permission to land in Florida. They were forced to return to Europe. More than 200 of the passengers on the MS St. Louis would later die in concentration camps. We sent them back to the camps. And that's why I will not be talking about how on this day in 1939, the MS St. Louis was turned away. On this day in 1940, also during World War II, the Dunkirk invasion went on. I hated that movie, Dunkirk. Did you guys see the movie Christopher Nolan? God, I hate Christopher Nolan. Oh, what, Pugs? What? Christopher Nolan needs to go back to making Batman movies, okay? That's the only shit that he makes that I like. Everything else Nolan does is garbage. Wait, was Christopher Nolan Dunkirk, or was another one of those British directors who I think are way overrated? I don't know. Anyway, point is this. One of my favorite things did happen. Maybe some of you know I'm a big church head. I am. I'm a big Winston Churchill head. I love that dude. I am fascinated by the legends of Winston Churchill. What a unique and hysterically odd character, who was also the man that was needed for the job that needed to be done. And that was never clearer than also on this day, when Winston Churchill gave a speech that is widely credited, and not just, people who don't know. No, the fucking British people themselves who listened to this speech were so roused with patriotism, they wouldn't give up. And let me put this in modern terms, okay? Last couple of days, I've been fucking just filled with pride and all of this because of Operation Spiderweb. The Ukrainian put upon people who were invaded. The Ukrainians were just sitting there. And like 3 years ago, tanks came in and Putin's like, your country's mine now. So the Ukrainian people They've been fighting tooth and nail for 3 years, and they had a very big victory over the weekend, Operation Spiderweb, and I'm very, very, encouraged by that. That is a Rocky story. That is Rocky. These fucking people will not give up. And neither did the British during the Battle of Britain. Winston Churchill on this day got in front of the people. Actually, he was speaking to Parliament, but it was broadcast nationally. He got in front of the people, and he gave his on the land, on the sea speech, in the sea speech, where he basically told, and this is just after Dunkirk, he was announcing, the Dunkirk evacuation was a success and the Nazis were coming. And he's talking to his people saying, yeah, we're probably going to lose, motherfuckers, but we're going down swinging. Let's listen to this speech. I want you to hear this speech. This fucking speech, man. Winston Churchill's "We Shall Fight on the Beaches." Okay. And it's only like a minute and a half. But when you think of how this speech resonated with the people of England, who then defeated the Nazis, the Battle of Britain was won by the English. And they were motivated by this speech. Here we go.
When Napoleon lay at Boulogne for a year with his flat-bottom boats and his grand army, he was told by someone, there are bitter weeds in England. There are certainly a great many more of them since the British Expeditionary Force returned. Sir, I have myself full confidence that if all do their duty, if nothing is neglected, and if the best arrangements are made, as they are being made, we shall prove ourselves once more able to defend our island home, to ride out the storm of war, and to outlive the menace of tyranny, if necessary for years, if necessary alone. At any rate, that is what we are going to do.
All right, so I do want to make a point there. That's a very important. I took a college course on this speech. Well, it was more about the speeches of Winston Churchill, but we spent a lot of time on this speech. That's an incredibly important part in this speech, where Winston Churchill says, and I'm getting choked up because it's such a great speech, where he says we'll do it alone if we have to. Because remember, there was no full commitment from the United States and all that shit. People were fucking appeasing Hitler. Hitler! They were appeasing Hitler. People didn't want smoke. Well, you know what? He's not going to kill me. So, maybe we should talk to the guy, not fucking Churchill. And this was a message to Roosevelt. I mean, Stalin had his hands full, but this was definitely a message to Roosevelt. We'll do it alone if we have to. We will die with honor on our fucking island.
Try to do alone, Derivia, and to outlive the menace of tyranny, if necessary for years, if necessary alone. At any rate, that is what we are going to try to do. That is the resolve of His Majesty's government, every man of them. That is the will of Parliament and the nation. The British Empire and the French Republic, linked together in their cause and in their need, will defend to the death their native soil, aiding each other like good comrades to the utmost of their strength. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island or a large part of it were subjugated and starving, then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until, in God's good time, the new world, with all its power and might, steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the old.
All right, so that also needs to be mentioned. That is also a message to Roosevelt. Although, man, how fucking powerful is it when he says to the people of the island, the island of England that is under attack, even if we are fucked here, even if we are dead, even if the Nazis come and they kill us and they execute me, our fucking fleet and our empire is still out there and they will fight. And then he says, and we'll fight until the new world, America, will fight until they get off their ass and decide that Hitler's a bad guy. Oh, what a speech. Here, I want to hear that line.
Forth beyond the seas. I don't believe this island, or a large part of it, was subjugated and starving. Then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until, in God's good time, the new world, with all its power and might, steps forth to the rescue.
Until God, with all his might, the new world steps forward with all its power and might to rescue.
And the liberation of the old.
That is a fucking speech, man. That is just, I don't know, man. I don't know. We're soft. Let me get my camera back. We're soft. We're soft. Oh, are we soft? Americans in 2025. My internet's down. That's how people fucking act when it's all on the line. That's how Ukrainians act, because it's all on the line. Winston Churchill. He's a badass. He's a badass. All right, let's keep going. Let's see here. Antecedently on this day, as the show continues on. Ooh, this is a fun one. On this day in 1977. Make sure we get back. Got to remind people that this show runs on tips. Got to be a fucking whore all day today. All right. On this day in 1977, JVC. JVC introduces its VHS videotape at the Consumer Electronics Show in Chicago. It will eventually prevail against Sony's rival Betamax system in a format war to become the predominant home video medium. Okay, so happy birthday, VHS. Happy birthday, VHS. You won. Okay. But do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember when VCRs first started popping up? Here's what you had. If you were like me, I was like, 8, 9 when I first saw my first VCR. There were two kinds. There were great big giant ones that had cassette tapes that were, probably the size of 2 8-tracks. Oh God, do I got to explain what 8-tracks are? Probably. So that was the VHS and that was the JVC. But then your friends across the street, they might have a whole totally different one. And it was a lot smaller. And that was called a Betamax. And that was Sony. And those tapes were like half the size of the VHS tapes that we were watching with the JVC. So these two formats were both introduced at the exact same time. Why? Because both of these companies recognized the rise of home entertainment, being able to, watch things on recorded things and all of that. Okay, so they both invented their own little way of doing it and then unveiled them to the world around the same time. But that can't be. There's got to be a standard. If we are going to have if we're going to have the video business, video stores everywhere. Before, everybody had a vape shop, right? Every strip mall had a local video store until big corporate America decided that wasn't good. And then Blockbuster came along and ran all of the mom and pop video stores out. But video stores need some kind of uniformity if they're going to give these tapes, if people are going to be allowed to rent these tapes, because buying the tapes back in 1979 is too expensive. All these tapes were like $200 because there was only like 15 of them in the world. It was like a deal like that. So the idea was, how do we make this more popular? Obviously, we can't have people shelling out $100 to watch a movie they're going to watch once. So the video store thing became a thing. And again, uniformity needed to be found because video store owners, especially at the mom and pop level, they were not going to spend half their inventory on one kind of product and the other half on the other. It needed to be, well, what if this video store happens to be in an area where there aren't many people with Betamax and now you got half your inventories, So there needed to be a uniformity. So the war began. What would it be? VHS or Betamax? By absolutely every tech standard, Sony's Betamax was superior. Sony's Betamax was better. Just was. It was the sound was better, the audio was better. In fact, Sony's Betamax videotapes remained something that you could buy for years and decades, really. I mean, we were using Sony Betamax tapes into the mid 2000s to record radio shows, radio stations, and media in television news stations. You know, they do a news broadcast. Well, they're recording that. They used exclusively Sony Betamax. Radio stations all use Sony Betamax because the audio was better and it took up less space and it was, you know, more. Anyway, that's how Sony Betamax lived on. JVC1, VHS1. That's the format that we all had. You know, maybe some of you know a guy who had a Betamax, but everyone you know had a VHS. Everyone you know had a VHS. Maybe at one point they had a Betamax, but everybody you know at some point in their life, if they were alive at the time, had a VHS. It's the one that won. Why did it win? This is the best part of this story. This is like my little Paul Harvey turn. So why did we choose VHS over Beta? What was the decision? If Beta was so superior, why did we go VHS? Because the people at JVC made a deal with porn producers. They recognized that one of the main things that was going to be, you know, a revenue stream for the local video store was going to be the adult section. It used to be that you had to go to the seedy part of town and go to some weird bookstore if you wanted to get your porn. But now with home VHS, this was a whole new avenue. And porn made a deal with VHS. Porn made deals with JVC. The porn industry agreed to create all of their pornography and then put it out to stores on VHS, not Betamax. And that's what killed Betamax. Because ultimately, whether you want to believe it or not, more people rented porno tapes. You know, dudes used to rent like stacks of porno tapes it was weird. That's so weird now when you consider, like, you know, how porn is available online and stuff. Well, anyway, there you go. JVC, the story of JVC, how JVC beat Sony in the VHS versus Betamax war. On this day, antecedently, in the year 1989, Iranian Supreme Leader, who cares about this? Actually, here's what's interesting. So what was the dude's name? Okay, Ayatollah Khomeini. Remember Ayatollah Khomeini? He was like my Ayatollah my whole life. He was the guy that took the hostages in Iran. He was the bad guy with the beard, okay? He died. And then you know what they did? They replaced him with a dude who was also an old guy with a beard who looked exactly the same. But this dude's name wasn't Khomeini. No, this guy was way different. This guy was Ayatollah Khomeini. Yeah, they just replaced Ayatollah Khomeini with Ayatollah Khomeini. Yeah, say it like that. It's like the same fucking name. It's just a slight different pronunciation. It's weird. No reason for me to even talk about that. All right, let's move on. Let's do birthdays. Here we go. Let's talk about birthdays. These are people having birthdays. Let's decide if we like them. Do we want to go to their birthday party or just, you know, Peter Brady? Here we go. Born on this day in 1926, Robert Earl Hughes. Oh, this dude. Oh, this guy. Ooh, I got questions. All right. So who was Robert Earl Hughes? Who was Robert Earl Hughes? Who was born on this day in 1926. Robert Earl Hughes is the heaviest human ever recorded in history. He's the fattest man ever. Robert Earl Hughes. Born on this day in 1926, died in 1958 at 32 years old. Not surprising. Heaviest man in the history of the world. How much do you think he weighed? What is the heaviest man? Hold on, let me see. Well, let's see what he weighed. I know what he weighed, but I just want to double check it. Here, I'll show you a picture of him. That's what you're all thinking. You're like, let me see what the fattest man in the history of being fat looks like. Here you go. Look at him. He's smiling. He's probably a nice dude. He's got a gun. Oh, wait, no. I'm guessing that's probably not a gun. That's probably a crutch. I'm guessing he needs a little. Yeah, he's got a crutch. All right, look at him. Look at him. All right, so how much did this cat weigh? Let's see. Let's find out what Robert Earl Hughes weighed. All right, clocking in the heaviest human ever. I'm going to call him heavy because fat's mean, right? Am I baiting at him? Just a little. Robert Earl Hughes weighed 1,071 pounds. Oh God, look at this guy. Hold on. Where's the picture? Why can't I find the picture of him? All right, who's that? That's his little. Okay. All right, look at him there. Look at that. Oh my God. What's okay? Well, that's just fat deposits, right? That's like, sometimes right around your, like, the dick and balls zone, sometimes you get a little fat. You get a little bit of like fat deposit. This is wow. It looks like balls, doesn't it? Looks like big giant balls. Oh, this poor guy. Oh, that must be like what? Like a Madame Tussauds kind of thing? Look at him. So, yeah, he was a freak show. They discovered him, and he spent, the better part of the last 15 years of his life touring the country, riding around in the back of this thing that we see here, and he died. Weirdly enough, he died of measles. That's what they say. He died of measles at 32, which, you're like, I bet if he wasn't 1,000 pounds, he'd have survived that bout of measles. Let's not kid ourselves. He didn't die of measles. Dude was 32 years old. When the man was 32 years old, and when the people who knew him heard that he died, nobody was shocked. Nobody was like, "Oh, 32, it's so young. He was so healthy." Nobody was like that. They were like, "Shit, 32. I didn't think he'd make it to 22." And what's the glands? Right? Does this guy got gland problems? Probably. I would imagine that somebody that big, that can't just be eating. And he was like eating it. He was born in 1926. He was like eating in the 1930s and 20s, and they didn't have the shit that we eat now. There weren't a whole bunch of. It's got to be glandular. I'm saying it's got to be glandular. All right, born on this day, 1926, Robert Earl Hughes, the fattest man ever. Robert Earl Hughes. All right, let's see here. Born on this day, a couple of years later, 1928. I love this lady. I love this lady, and I got to meet her. I got to go to dinner with her. When we went to New York. Oh my God. She's dead now, and that's sad. Born on this day, I had dinner with her. It was me and Kelly, and our wasn't our agent at the time. It was a guy who was that guy's named Jeremy Coleman. He used to run WNEW in New York, and Kelly and I were negotiating with them. And Dr. Ruth Westheimer came and had dinner with us during this little thing. Anyway, that was for another reason. But here's why I love Dr. Ruth Westheimer. First of all, she was such a lovely woman. If you people don't remember her, she popularized sex talk. She was the woman that made it okay to talk about sex on the radio. She did this in the early 1980s. It shocked the entire world. She was immediately syndicated everywhere. And she was a sex therapist. She was a German-born. So let me tell you, God, I got so much that I can say about Dr. Ruth. How awesome she was. First of all, did you know she survived the concentration camps in Nazi Germany? So, all right, badass. Did you know she was only 4'9"? She's fucking basically a midget. She's like this tiny fucking chick, survived the concentration camps. Then you know what she did after the concentration camps? She moved to Israel, the newly formed Israel, and became a sniper in the early Israeli army. Yeah, she was a sniper because she was little. And apparently she was really good. So she did all that shit. Then she came to America and she got a whole shit ton of PhDs, and she ended up being a nanny for a rich family in Manhattan and got her doctorate at the same time. I mean, she's just a fucking great story. But what's even cooler about it, and why she was at this dinner, is because Dr. Ruth Westheimer and my former show, Pugs and Kelly, were discovered by the same person, the same radio person that pulled Dr. Ruth Westheimer out of obscurity. Also called me one day out of obscurity when Kelly and I were doing nights in Chicago, and said, "Hey, I want to put you guys on a retainer. You can keep doing your job, but I want to pay you so that when you leave that job, you come with me." And we were like, this is how media works? All right. So yeah, so this same guy who discovered Dr. Ruth, he paid me and Kelly to not leave and not negotiate with anyone else. We had a contract in Chicago where we were that was coming to an end, and we were going to, but anyway, it was a great kind of cool moment to get to meet Dr. Ruth and talk about the same person who, grabbed her when she was a guest. He heard her as a guest on another show on a station he was programming. And he said, let's put her on Sunday. And they carved out the least listened to time period of the week as a test because he wanted Dr. Ruth to be able to be sexy and to talk about things that typically you couldn't talk about on radio because of the FCC. So he chose 10 o'clock at night on Sunday. Absolutely nobody is listening to the radio at 10 o'clock at night. So he put Dr. Ruth on a radio station in New York City at 10 o'clock at night on Sunday. And within 4 weeks, she had over 500,000 people listening every single Sunday night. I mean, it exploded so quick for her because nobody had ever heard anybody talking the way she talked. First of all, she sounded like a Muppet, right? Grandma Freud is what people called her. She had the sick German accent. Yeah. And she would talk about the clitoris and it was hypnotic. By today's standards, it's probably corny and maybe even a little cringe. But you have to remember that those kinds of conversations had never happened in a public place like on the radio. And it was mind-blowing. She exploded, and she's just a wonderful person, just a really nice person. And let me tell you the secret sauce. Let me tell you why Dr. Ruth Westheimer was allowed to succeed in the way that she did. And she had bonkers success, like nationwide, global success, millions of books and all that stuff, TV shows. She had the Dr. Ruth show on TV. Here's why. Because nobody wanted to fuck her. That's why she was allowed to succeed. She was allowed to succeed in that format, talking that way, talking about these subjects, talking dirty, if you will, because most people assumed that there was nobody jerking off to her. Now, if somebody, like you're a hot, sexy woman, right? Guys be like, oh, yeah, talk about the clitoris again. No, that was completely removed by going so fucking clinical with sex talk that a whole new kind of thing was born. Dr. Ruth Westheimer. Born on this day in 1928. She died last year. It was very sad. All right, born on this day in 1944. One of my faves. Hold on, let me see what's happening. Sorry, I just got a series of weird texts. Just need to check it out. All right, never mind. That's fine. Michelle Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas. All the leaves are Sunday, yeah. I went for a walk. Whatever. Mamas and the Papas are pretty great. I like them. I can't really probably name more than 3 songs. But when I hear them, I'm like, yeah, man, they got groove. Listen to that groove. Listen to that voice, man. They're great. Mamas and the Papas, Michelle Phillips. She was the young, sexy one in the group. But she's a badass. I think she is so fucking cool. Obviously I wasn't around when she was a rock star. And honestly, I've only really come to become kind of a fan of hers in the last couple of years because Michelle Phillips, our birthday girl today, she does YouTube videos with her daughter, China Phillips. Remember Wilson Phillips? China Phillips is married to who? Billy Baldwin. She's in the Baldwin family, right? And isn't it China Phillips' daughter that's married to Bieber? I don't know. It's all so weird. Anyway, China Phillips does this YouTube thing where she just calls her mom, Michelle Phillips, and it's like a mother-daughter conversation. And I know that doesn't sound like something that should be interesting to me, but they talk about the craziest, coolest stuff, and I like it, and it's nice. And also, here's something else that's going to shock you. It's religious. I mean, it's not like overly religious because Michelle Phillips isn't religious, but China is. China's like a born-again Christian. And like, so all of her motivations are like Jesus' work and all this stuff. And she talks to her mom and her mom's like, ugh, China. You know, it's so funny. It's just, they have a great relationship. So anyway, let me tell you a cool story. About Michelle Phillips. So Michelle Phillips was in the Mamas and the Papas. Mamas and the Papas used to do all kinds of TV shows. On the Ed Sullivan Show, one time they were asked to lip sync, and they didn't want to lip sync on the Ed Sullivan Show because most bands with any swagger, although they would be asked to lip sync, if they had enough stroke, they would say, oh, we ain't lip syncing. So they would play live. And a lot of bands, especially rock bands, would play live on Ed Sullivan. Others would lip sync. But it was demanded that the Mamas and the Papas lip sync. So there was a bit of an insurgency there within the band between John Phillips and Michelle Phillips and Denny and Cass. they felt very disrespected because they were one of the biggest selling acts of the previous bunch of years. And they're like, no, wait a second. Did you not hear us? We said we're not lip syncing. And then the Ed Sullivan producers were like, no, you're lip syncing. And they were like, fuck. Nobody's ever told us no before. You know, it was like the rock star thing. So they went out. They went out and they performed on the Ed Sullivan show. I think they performed California Dreamin' or Monday Money or whatever. I'm not sure what it was that they were performing. But they went out there on the Ed Sullivan. And this is Rock and Roll Myth. By the way, our pal Lisa Umbarger, of course, founder of the Toadies, not a new podcast. They've been doing it for a while, but we're bringing it over to Radio Misfits. It's called Jackalope Tales. They tackle all of these kinds of things, these rock and roll myths. So Lisa and Charles, they get together on Jackalope Tales and they talk about, what I'm telling you now. I'm telling you a rock and roll myth. I don't know if they did this one. I don't know if they've done this one. Maybe in a future episode. It's known as Banana Gate. It is known as Banana Gate in the world of rock and roll because when it came time for the Mamas and the Papas to take the stage on the Ed Sullivan show and perform their song, Lip Syncing, Michelle Phillips decided that her protest was going to be to eat a banana while she was supposed to be singing, to tell the whole world, this is fucking dumb. I can't believe it. So let's watch this. Here we go. We have it. This is Banana Gate from the Ed Sullivan show. The lovely. Oh, hold on. That's not it. That's not the one I want. Isn't this always the case with me? Okay. Yeah, here we go. All right, now we got it. Oh. Hold on. Oh, jeez, I hate this. I hate this part of it. All right, so here we go. Banana Gate. Michelle Phillips eating a banana while she's supposed to be singing on the Ed Sullivan show. Here we go. From the Rock and Roll Myth column. On her birthday, the lovely, I never really noticed this until later, like, because I like her as an old lady. I don't like her, like, as an old lady, but I think she's funny and interesting. But then you go back and, like, you see her, like, when she was in the Mamas and the Papas, and you're like, holy shit, that's Michelle Pfeiffer. That's like, she was really something. You see the banana. You see her, she's eating the banana. Here we go. That's pretty cute, right? I mean, I'm just saying that she's really, like, I don't think I ever noticed how pretty she was. How, like, I can see how, Okay, so there she goes. She's eating the banana. She's supposed to be singing. Am I crazy? Does she look like Lori Partridge? Doesn't she kind of look like Lori Partridge? And if so, I bet that's what the producers of the Partridge Family were going for with the character that they cast Susan Day to play Lori Partridge. But I bet when they cast that role, they said, we want a Michelle Phillips type. Hey, here's a fun fact. This dude, he's the reason that the Mamas and the Papas broke up. This guy... Okay, so here's the problem with old Denny here. So Michelle Phillips was, of course, the trophy girlfriend, the trophy bride, but, young girl, young teeny bopper of the much older John Phillips, the much older and established John Phillips, right? So he brings Michelle Phillips into the group. She's his hot little girlfriend. They end up getting married. She's Michelle Phillips. Okay, so you get that. Okay, so now they're in the band together, and Michelle Phillips fucking falls hard for this dude, Denny. She falls for him and she starts pursuing Denny. And Denny's like, I don't want to do this. And I don't want to fuck up with John. And then they finally end up having an affair together. So now Michelle and this dude are together. Oh, but guess what? Guess who's also in love with this dude? Cass Elliot. Mama Cass, who's in the band, sitting right next to him, singing with him, also loves this fucking guy. And he's like, not stringing Cass along, like to hear him tell the story, but he's like, he didn't see her as a sexual, person or as a sexual partner for him. She was his sister. They were best friends, but Cass fucking loved him. And when he hooked up with Michelle Phillips, that's when it all got public. Not because John Phillips found out, but because Cass Elliot found out. And she went fucking bonkers and the band was over. All right, let's go back to watching her eat a banana. I mean, she's kind of saying, like, she's going along with it. She's not just eating a banana defiantly through the whole thing. All right, so they were just talking. They were supposed to be singing. They were just having a little conversation. No, they're having a conversation. They're not singing. They're supposed to be singing, and John Phillips is talking to his wife. Such a great song, but what are they doing? What is going on here in this performance? What are we looking at? They got a globe. Is Cass Elliot dressed like a flower? What is that? Okay. By the way, did you notice John Phillips stopped playing guitar like a couple of minutes ago? I don't know if to make any of that. 60s were weird, man. 60s were weird. Okay, so now let me give you part 2 of that, because remember I told you that I love the whole China Phillips and Michelle Phillips. So how about Michelle Phillips talking about that? Michelle Phillips actually was asked by her daughter. Here, let's go to 133. Hold on. She was asked by China about that incident in one of their little YouTube phone calls that they record. That is so clever. Yeah, here it is. Okay. All right, let's listen to this. This is China Phillips, the daughter of Michelle Phillips, talking to her mom, Michelle Phillips, about what we just watched and what's the real story there. Here we go.
You know what, China? It was so random, as you put it. We were just lip syncing to the song.
Yeah.
And then I looked over and there was this plate of fruit. And there was a banana there. And so I just reached over and started peeling it. And I ate it. Well, it was very spontaneous. I looked over and I was trying to do something with my hands, to do anything, because I felt a little awkward.
Mom, it was an iconic moment.
All right, there you have it. From her own mouth, the Banana Gate incident. Happy birthday, Michelle Phillips. She's so cool. Born on this day in 1969. Happy birthday to very forgettable Saturday Night Live performer Horatio Sands, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to take a little shine off Horatio Sands. I know it's his moment. It's his birthday. But I want to talk about a guy who for a while I just kind of grouped in with Horatio Sands. And over the course of his Saturday Night, like 10 years, changed. So Bobby Moynihan used to always remind me of Horatio Sands. Like I'd be watching this. I'm like, okay, we got another Horatio Sands. We just got rid of Horatio Sands. And now they're giving us another one, another dumpy, ethnic looking. I know his name's Moynihan, but he looks ethnic. He could be an Arab. I don't know. I'm just saying. Another dumpy, ethnic, non-leading man type who's supposed to be funny. Okay. By the way, you know what I didn't like about Horatio Sands? And there's really nothing not to like about, like, Horatio Sands isn't offensive. He's not like, that guy sucks. You don't have, he's not a hot take artist like me or something. People hate me. I get that. That's because I say shit that, they might disagree with. Horatio Sands ain't that guy. My problem with Horatio Sands was that he was always fucking carrying water for Jimmy Fallon. It was always like, if Jimmy Fallon cracked in a scene, it was always Horatio Sands that would stare at him like, "You're the greatest, Jimmy." Oh, I mean, I'm surprised Horatio Sands isn't Jimmy's sidekick on The Tonight Show. That's where it probably could have gone for him. I mean, he kissed a lot of Jimmy Fallon ass for a lot of years. And for Fallon to now just be like, "Yeah, you can't sit on you can't be my Richter. You can't be my Andy Richter." That sucks. But back to Bobby Moynihan, because Bobby Moynihan, when they first introduced him, I'm like, "God, geez, here we go again." Jimmy Fallon ain't around to kiss ass anymore. So who's this guy? Bobby Moynihan became, in my opinion, after John Belushi, Bobby Moynihan is the best comedic actor on that stage ever. Bobby Moynihan has dramatic chops. I don't know if you've ever seen Bobby Moynihan do serious stuff. I haven't, but I've seen him do comic stuff as a really deep, well-developed character that is completely different from him. Bobby Moynihan is brilliant. He can create a character and get lost in that character. Boy. Anyway, Bobby Moynihan, great. Horatio Sands, mid to subpar at best. All right, born on this day in 1969. Happy birthday, Horatio Sands. Born on this day in 1971. I got no hate for this guy. I'm not a hateful person. I don't mean to make fun of him, but it is kind of funny. Born on this day in 1971, Noah Wyle. Remember Noah Wyle? He's the actor. He was on ER. He was a nobody, he's nobody. First job. I don't mean to say he's a nobody. I don't mean for it to sound bad, but he hadn't really done anything before. So he gets on ER. ER explodes. Clooney, right? Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards. And then you got this young doctor, this young, handsome Noah Wyle, right? And I always thought, because I liked ER back in the day, but I always thought he was the most disposable of those people. Like, okay, with this guy, he's not really bringing anything to the table. Anyway, as ER goes on to become one of the iconic television series of America the past 50 years, Noah Wyle's stock kind of builds. And at some point, Noah Wyle leaves ER. I don't know if he left when it ended or if he left before that, but whatever. He leaves ER and he steps out into the big, bold world of Hollywood thinking, "I'm Mr. ER. I'm Noah Wyle. I'm going to be a leading man." And what was interesting was, I remember I don't know where this was. Anyway, point is this. Noah Wyle purposefully would turn down any job where he played a doctor or where it was anything that could be related to ER. I mean, this dude did some bad movies where he played a terrorist. This guy was, what else was Noah Wyle in? Can't even think about it. I think he played a serial killer and something. He was he's an actor and it doesn't. So fast forward 20 years later, here we are. He finally comes back to TV and he's playing a doctor in The Pit. It's his grand return. See, there's no shit. Look, I'm mocking him because it's like, dude, why didn't you just fucking milk this for the past 20 years? No, because you McLean Stevenson'd your career. You were like, "I don't need that." And now look, here you are 20 years later, Noah Wyle. I got a 16-year-old kid. He doesn't know who the fuck you are. Right? I mean, you haven't been productive as a celebrity in an entire generation's lifetime. So now he comes back. Now Noah Wyle's back. Remember he did that movie about aliens, or a TV series? I watched that. He did a TV series on Sci-Fi where the aliens invaded us. That's the thing about me. Fun fact. If you produce anything where aliens are invading Earth, I watch it. I don't care how stupid it is. I will watch that shit. Any kind of War of the Worlds scenario going on, I don't care. Some bad sci-fi series from the mid-90s, I've seen them all. All right, let's go. Born on this day in 1975, Russell Brand. Russell Brand is an accused rapist and a certified crazy person. And here's the thing about Russell Brand. I mean, I guess I'm just old enough to remember when he burst on the scene. I'm old enough to remember who he was and why he became famous. But maybe other people aren't. People think he's like some Swami or some guru now. He's a train wreck. He became famous because he was a train wreck of a reality star. He was fucking Puck from the real world. I mean, that's not literally, but that's kind of like who he was. And then he spun that into stand-up comedy. He was a junkie. He was a criminal. He was arrested for things, most of it drug-related and, mischief kind of shit, because he's a fuck-up. And he's a crazy person. He's been crazy since 1998 or whatever the first time I became aware of who Russell Brand is. And now all of a sudden, he's a huge influencer. Do you people not remember when he was crazy? And you're like, oh, he's got such a fucking perspective on things. I also think it's hysterical that the guy spent the better part of, the first decade of his career as a public figure basically talking about how religion and Christianity specifically is the cause of all the evil in the world. And now he's a born again. Now that he's being accused of rape by 1,000 women, he's born again. He's a Christian. Yeah, he did that move. And there are people who I see my normal friends of mine, normal friends who will share his stuff on Twitter. And I just have to go, he's crazy, right? You know he has no credibility. All right. He's entertaining, though. He is really entertaining. He has a skill that I do not have, but something that I practice at relentlessly every day on this show. He has an ability to extemporaneously speak on any subject for long periods of time and keep it interesting, keep it moving, and keep it fun. Because he's crazy. Because that's what a crazy mind does. All right. Born on this day, 1975. Holy shit. We got two nutters here. Born on this day in 1981, T.J. Miller. T.J. Miller, American actor and comedian. You guys know who T.J. Miller is? Again, he's another guy that's always in trouble. T.J. Miller was the star of Silicon Valley on HBO. He played, who did he play? He played the guy that ran the incubator. He was I don't know, whatever. I'm not going to explain it to you. You either know who T.J. Miller is or you don't. He's a comedian. He's been on a number of situation comedies. And he starts fights with people. Didn't he beat up an Uber driver or something once and, got drunk and he's supposed to be obnoxious? Anyway, happy birthday, T.J. Miller, born on this day in 1981. All right, let's go to deads. These are the people who've died. These are the people who've died. Let's talk about people who died. That's what we're doing. All right, dead on this day, 1798. Where'd he go? Heaven or hell? Casanova. You guys know Casanova. You's a real Casanova. Look at him over there. He's a total Casanova, right? We know who Casanova is. He's a swordsman. He's a flesh swordsman of the highest order. Casanova. No, he wasn't. See, that's the whole Casanova. Wait, everything we think about Casanova is wrong because we just, Born on this day in 1798, Giacomo Casanova. Giacomo Casanova was an Italian adventurer and author, okay? Here's what he was. He wrote travel guides. He was a rich kid. He was born into a celebrity family of the time. His parents were famous actors, famous stage actors who, even back then, famous stage actors were like celebrities. So he was like a Nepo baby of 1798 or whatever. I guess this is when he died. And what he decided to do with his life was write books about the places he's been and the people he's met. And he traveled all around the world. And he talked about, sexual habits of people in other cultures. And that was shocking to the people of Italy at the time and all that. And that's it. That is what Giacomo Casanova did. Now, I don't know if he's I don't know how many times he was married or anything like that. Maybe that stuff is true. But it was simply because he brought to mainland Europe all of these stories of how other cultures engage in sexuality and all that kind of stuff. That's Casanova. He wasn't a great... Is Cyrano de Bergerac real? Because I'd be like, that dude was more... Because Cyrano was actually, he was about having game. Cyrano is about having game. Cyrano had game. Cyrano was ugly and he couldn't get chicks. But, if they had invented phones, he'd have gotten a lot of dates on the phone because Cyrano de Bergerac knew how to talk. But I don't know that he's real. We're gonna move on. All right, we're gonna put Casanova in heaven. I'm putting Casanova in heaven. He was like the Dr. Ruth of his time. He was just trying to let people know that, hey, you know, they do it in the butt over here in Greece. You know, he was that kind of stuff. That's what he was famous for. All right, dead on this day in 1798. I'm putting Casanova in heaven. Dead on this day in 2010. How about the Wizard of Westwood, John Wooden? John Wooden, American basketball player and coach, considered the greatest basketball coach in the history of basketball coaches doing coachy stuff. Right? Oh, the Wizard of Westwood. Every coach. Understand, every coach. Your girls' youth soccer coach. Your boys' freshman baseball coach. Whatever, your niece's badminton high school coach. Every fucking coach of all time forever has written or read, I should say, John Wooden's book. John Wooden's book. He wrote the textbook on coaching. Everybody who's a coach or a gym coach or whatever, they all required reading. John Wooden. It's going to hell, though. It's going to hell. Wasn't there something with John Wooden and black players? I don't know. It doesn't matter. He's a coach anyway. College coach that era. He's going to hell. He probably did some really shitty things to people and got away with it because he was the Wizard of Westwood. Here's another guy dead on this day. Here's another coach, I should say, dead on this day, year 2014. He passed away. Don Zimmer. Popeye Don Zimmer. I don't like Don Zimmer. I don't like Don Zimmer. He was manager of the Cubs. You all know I hate the Cubs. He would then go on to work with the Yankees. And all right, so let me show you this. This is my favorite Don Zimmer moment. I was in a bar watching this, and we watched it live, and I remember who I was watching it with. I was watching it with my friend Jim and my friend Kurt, and I remember my friend Kurt was so funny, like doing play-by-play of it. He wasn't doing play-by-play, but he was doing like, he was just ranting about what he was seeing, and it was so funny. So I'm going to tell you what we're about to see. This is Don Zimmer. Died on this day. He's going to hell, by the way, because he was manager of the Chicago Cubs. I'm sorry, as a White Sox fan, I can't abide. He's got to go to hell. So we got that out of the way. So this is back, early 90s, maybe? I don't know. It's the Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees. You know, that rivalry. Oh, my God, they hate each other. Pedro's on the mound. Pedro's throwing at people. Fuck Pedro. I still say to this day, I mean, I've watched a lot of baseball in my life, and Pedro is the one guy. Pedro is the scariest motherfucker on the mound ever. And I'm one of the world's biggest Nolan Ryan fans, you know? And could you imagine Pedro and Clemens? I mean, these two sons of bitches. Anyway, Pedro. I often say, you're starting a baseball team, one player, who you taking? I'm like, okay, I'm going pitcher first, and I'm going with Pedro. I'm going with prime Pedro Martinez. So here's Pedro throwing at the head. I don't know who this is. I don't know who this Yankee is, but Pedro throws at the head. A fight breaks out. And what we're going to see is like a million-year-old Don Zimmer pitching coach. What was he? Wasn't a pitching coach, but he was like a bench coach for the Yankees, Joe Torre's bench coach. You'll see Don Zimmer come running out, forgetting that he's a million years old, and try to fight Pedro Martinez, who at this time was a moose of a man in the athletic prime of his life. So let's watch how this plays out. All right. Don Zimmer versus Pedro. One of my favorite moments. I watched it live. I remember where we were. Actually, I don't remember where we were, but I do remember who I was with.
Nobody out. And this is over the head. Actually, must have hit the bat of Kareem Garcia. And a foul ball, and Garcia immediately pops up and screams at Martinez.
Yeah, that was perilously close to his head. Martinez hitting Soriano and Derek Jeter. The last time the Yankees and Red Sox played the 2-1 game won by the Yankees back in August. Now Joe Torre.
Well, they warned both benches.
I guess it must have nicked the helmet. I thought it hit his bat too.
I thought it hit him in the back.
Really?
It was behind his head.
Well, Martinez now pointing. That's the wrong thing to do.
All right, so right now, Pedro's back on the mound. He's talking shit. He's jawing back and forth with the bench, the Yankees bench, okay? Now, this is not great, but this is Pedro. Pedro was a badass, man.
That's inciting right there. Trying to get himself under control.
All right, now we're going to involve Manny. Now we're going to involve Manny Ramirez.
Now Ramirez.
That ball's not even close.
All right, now it's popping off. All right, you are managing the emotional volatility of Manny Ramirez and Pedro Martinez.
You talk about looking for a reason.
Absolutely.
All right, so this is where it starts. So here's Pedro. Pedro's got his jacket on, man. He's probably, I don't know if he's even still in the game. Maybe he is, but he's got his jacket on. He's probably sitting on the bench staying warm, or he's in the bullpen. I don't know where he's coming from. But he is walking out back onto the field, right? The benches have cleared, and he seems to be talking to somebody. And he's talking to Don Zimmer. All right, so this is what we're going to watch. We're going to watch like million-year-old Don Zimmer forget he's million years old and actually try and fucking fight Pedro Martinez. Don Zimmer, I wanted to freeze it right here just so we make absolutely clear from the beginning that it was Zimmer who charged Pedro. This is Zimmer's hand going up to try and smack Pedro in the face. All right, let's watch it. This is the old man forgetting he's an old man.
Absolutely.
You talk about looking for a reason.
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness. Don Zimmer and Pedro Martinez. Oh, Don's. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Don Zimmer and. Oh, my goodness. Don Zimmer. Oh, my goodness. Don Zimmer and Pedro Martinez. Oh.
That's awful.
All right, Tim McCarver. That's awful. That's all. What's awful, Tim McCarver? I want to know what Tim McCarver thinks is awful. I'll tell you what I think is awful. Don Zimmer, a manager who's like 90, running out there thinking that this is appropriate. He's a manager. Isn't he supposed to be one of the guys that keeps his cool? He's not supposed to be doing this. The old man charged the young bull, and the old man was reminded of what the young bull can do. And Tim McCarver thinks that's terrible. And the reason that I'm kind of ranting about this is because if you remember in the days that followed, Pedro Martinez was demonized for this. Pedro Martinez, how could he do that to an old man? And I'm like, what the fuck? The old man charged him. It's not like Pedro jumped on him when he was down and started the fucking ground and pound. Pedro was like, get the fuck out of here, old man, and threw him on the ground. That's what this was. And Pedro took a lot of shit for this.
Don Zimmer and Pedro Martinez. Oh.
That's awful.
Don Zimmer, a 72-year-old man, went into Pedro Martinez's face.
That's important. Thank you, Joe Buck. It's why you're the best. Context is important. Tim McCarver probably would have just said, Pedro Martinez just threw Don Zimmer to the ground. No, Joe Buck provided the context. After Zimmer got in his face, went to his face. Thank you, Joe.
Don Zimmer, a 72-year-old man, went into Pedro Martinez's face, and Pedro Martinez threw him down.
That's terrible. Awful.
Okay, Tim, but awful by who? I would argue it is awful on the part of the management. It is awful on the part of the person who's not a player, who's supposed to be out there, running the show, the bench coach. The bench coach is the one who fucking shouldn't have done that, not Pedro. We know who Pedro is. And then for in the, following days, Pedro Martinez said it was the 90s. We could do shock talk. Hot Latins. They can't control themselves. I'm like, fuck you. It was Don fucking Zimmer who's in hell. Don Zimmer goes to hell. Don Zimmer goes to hell. All right, that's going to do it. We're good. We're good, folks. Those are the first 3 quarters of today's show. We went through antecedently. We went through birthdays, and we went through the deads and all that. I would like to thank our executive producer, our guy Barney. Thank you, brother. Can't thank you enough. I'm going to keep saying it. He tipped the show yesterday. Nobody has tipped the show today. It's incredibly depressing, but, look at this. What are we going to do? It's a pledge week. We will muscle through. All right, let's go into all the things that we are talking about today. Okay, here are, let's see, what are the big things? Hey, here's a big one, right? Let's get started with this. All right, big win for the FBI today. Hey, see what we got? Did you see what the fuck the Chinese tried to do today? I know. Look, we don't know very much about this situation, but just on paper, this situation looks pretty bad. So in Detroit today, the Federal Bureau of Investigations took down 2 Chinese nationals who are professors. Both are doctors. One is a doctor at a Chinese university. The other is a professor here at the University of Michigan, which is why they were in Detroit. They both work on a fungus. They work with an incredibly toxic and dangerous fungus that is very regulated, and you don't get to move it around because it can do extreme damage. What does this fungus do? It's an agrofungus. It is a fungus that, when weaponized, can destroy an entire nation's crop of wheat or corn or whatever it is that they're trying to grow. It's a very, very dangerous thing, and it's one of the globally banned whatever it is. It's like anthrax, basically, except instead of just killing people, in a subway or whatever they would do with that, this is about destroying the food chain of an entire country. So that's the fear. That's what you could do with something like this. So the FBI caught a couple of these people. They were in Michigan. They were smuggling it into the country from China. Now, the man, it's a man and a woman, their boyfriend and girlfriend. The girlfriend is a professor at the University of Michigan. The man is a professor at the University of Chinatown, or wherever the fuck it is over there. I don't know. But they're both working on this substance, and he's coming here to the University of Michigan, and he's brought some from China, smuggled it out of his lab. I don't even know if he smuggled it, right? It's China. They might have been like, hey, you want to do this? I don't know if they put him up to it. It doesn't matter. It's China, okay? We're very careful about China these days because, God forbid, we start to think China is, having our best economic interests at heart. Let's, you know how upset I am that suddenly so many of you are all pro-Russia. Like, what? Anyway, so we can all agree at the moment China is still a problem, and we need to watch China, and we need to be on guard with China. Chinese couple charged for smuggling bioweapons into the United States. A University of Michigan researcher and her boyfriend, both Chinese nationals, have been charged for smuggling a potential dangerous pathogen into the U.S. In a Tuesday evening press release, the Justice Department announced that 33-year-old Yingling Jian and 34-year-old Zhongyong Liu were charged with, it doesn't matter, right? You fuckers don't care if I pronounce those names right. Leave it to Anderson Cooper or Jesse Waters or whatever. I'm sure one of the people that you watch later tonight will be able to pronounce it properly. They were both charged with conspiracy, smuggling goods into the United States, false statements, and visa fraud. Jian is the woman who is the teacher at Michigan. Jian is a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Michigan. According to an FBI release, the couple smuggled fusarium. I'm not even going to try and pronounce this word. It is a 3-part word with probably 45 letters in it. So fuck that. They smuggled in a fungus. Okay, let's just go with that. All right, fine. I'll try it. They smuggled in Fusarium graminearum. Fusarium graminearum. Fuck it. I'm out. Anyway, they smuggled that into the U.S. The fungus, even the journalist is like, yeah, I'm not doing that again. We're going to call it fungus from now on. The fungus, the Justice Department added, is classified as an agro-terror weapon. Okay. What is this? Is this the press release from the FBI? Let's read it. It says, this noxious fungus causes head blight, a disease of wheat, barley, maize, and rice. Maize, that's corn, right? Maize. Maize is corn. Isn't that like the Native American word for corn? Thought we got rid of all this shit with Elon's little DEI expungement. Why are they calling it maize? We white people call it corn. Anyway. So it's a head blight, a disease of wheat, barley, maize, and rice, and it's responsible for billions of dollars in economic losses worldwide each year. According to the complaint, Jian, that's the girl, received Chinese government funding for her work on this pathogen in China. The complaint also alleges that Jian's electronics contain information describing her membership in the Chinese Communist Party. All right, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything unless you just assume that everybody that's in the Communist Party is a monster. Don't stop it. Again, I don't agree with communist ideology either, but they're not monsters. They're just people who want to share. Just not the American way. Now, some of them, a bunch of them have rockets and missiles and they hate us and stuff. And that's a whole different kind of thing. But, they're just people. I don't hate the Chinese people. In a statement sent to Fox News, FBI Director Kash Patel said the case was a sobering reminder that the Chinese Communist Party continues to deploy operatives and researchers to infiltrate our institutions and target our food supply. Smuggling a known agro-terrorism agent into the United States is not just a violation of law, Patel added. It's a direct threat to national security. Big win! And even if it's not, they're claiming it's a big win. But I think it's a big win. We live in a world where I'm like, is that even true? Like, is that even true? Like, did this actually? I don't even know anymore. So whatever. But I choose to believe this is true. I choose to believe that the FBI, they got one. Good for them. Okay. Nope, we don't want to do that. Oh, how about this? How about the Iran deal? Yeah, we used to have an Iran deal, and then apparently it was a terrible deal, and so they blew up the Iran deal, and now they're furiously trying to make another Iran deal for the very same reasons that they made the Iran deal last time, except the Iran deal this time isn't going so well because Iran just told the United States this morning to go fucking kick rocks. All right, so that's not working. All right. Not only that, but Iran got fucking personal, so this is not going anywhere. All right. Whoever was able to get a deal done with these fucking crazy people, it's not going to get done. And it's personal. They're talking shit on Trump. They're not like direct, like he's a dork. Like they're basically saying that. Iran sparks World War III fears as supreme leader rejects nuclear deal with, quote, rude and arrogant Trump. All right. You know what? Don't make me fucking choose sides, Ayatollah. Because you know what? I think Trump is weird, but I'm still taking his side. Don't make me choose sides, Ayatollah. Iran's supreme leader argued that abandoning uranium enrichment was 100% against his country's best interests. The Ayatollah Khamenei, remember we learned about him earlier? The Ayatollah Khamenei. The Ayatollah Khamenei launched a blistering attack on the United States on Wednesday, accusing Donald Trump and his administration of being rude and arrogant. His comments came as he effectively rejected a revised nuclear deal put forward by the White House, which would allow Tehran to continue low-level uranium enrichment. Iran's supreme leader argued that abandoning... I don't care what he's arguing, but there you go. What's going on with Musk and Trump? Are they don't like each other anymore? How about this? I was going to do this yesterday, but I wanted to look into it. Yesterday as we were starting the show, I don't know, about an hour before we went live, Elon Musk tweeted out, the Trump's big, beautiful budget is stupid. Words to that effect. And I was like, oh, that is what's going on there, man. The bromance over. And so I didn't do the show do the story yesterday because I wanted to look into it. I haven't really looked into it either, but it's still here. So let's talk about it. So Elon Musk, he tweeted, here, I'll show you the tweet. Pretty strange because they're thick as thieves, these two, right? Literally like thieves. Here you go. Elon tweeted yesterday, I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those of you who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. All right, there you go. That is 48 hours? When did they do the big party for Elon Musk in the Oval Office where they're like, hey, you were so great with Doge. We don't ever want to see you around here anymore. When was that? Was that Friday of last week? The big send-off for Elon. So then Elon, this week now on Tuesday, he's out there shit fucking tweeting at Trump and his big, beautiful bill. All right, there you go. I don't know what's going on with those two. I have no clue. I don't know. But I also don't know what's going on with Musk and Stephen Miller. Are you guys following this? I know I don't do politics. We don't do politics here, but this is like more than politics. This is like fun little relationship stuff. So none of this is true, by the way, or at least I should say more to the point. None of this is confirmed. Okay, none of this is confirmed. This is all just conjecture and talk. So remember when Elon showed up with the black eye? Yeah, well, apparently people are like, that's from Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller punched Elon Musk in the face because Stephen Miller's wife left him for Elon Musk. Yeah. First of all, a couple of things that are shocking there. Stephen Miller has a wife. Yeah, that's weird. And she's kind of okay. But by like Washington, by pre-Trump, before the Trump influence on Washington, by pre-Trump standards, Stephen Miller's Washington wife, by pre-Trump standards, she would have been one of the hottest chicks in Washington. She would have been like, man, she's hot for DC. But, since Trump, now everybody's got, fake tits and, everybody's fucking hot. Hey, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just observing and I'm pointing it out. So Stephen Miller married this chick, and apparently, I don't know, there's something going on with her and Elon. All right, here, I'm going to bring you up to speed. Look at this story. Is this? No, that's not it. Stephen Miller story. Where's my Stephen Miller story? Jeez, I never thought I'd say that. This dude is such a creep. He is such a dork. But okay, let's see here. Musk and Stephen Miller. Here we go. All right. So here are the rumors. Rumors claim that Katie Miller left her husband, Stephen Miller, for Elon Musk. I mean, here, let me show you her. You get a look at her. Here's a look at her. You can see. By the pre-Trump Washington, D.C. standard, she was a very hot chick. But by the, current Trump standard, she's just like, whatever. All right, there she is. There's Stephen Miller. There he is, old Nosferatu himself with his chick. Apparently, she left Stephen Miller for Elon Musk. Now, here's the other thing I'm going to say. Elon Musk can do better. Elon Musk can do better. Elon Musk has weird taste in women, right? Like all the women that Elon Musk has been around, I mean, some of them are hot. Like, I get why he knocked up that Ashley St. Clair, right? She's hot. It's like, you want to have sex with that. That's like, woo, that I get. But like that Grimes, that Grimes singer that no one's ever heard of, and she's only famous because she was married to him, and now people act like she's a legit pop star. Nobody knows who Grimes is. Anyway, you ever seen her? Like Elon, she was married to the wealthiest man in the world. I'm just saying, I want the wealthiest man in the world to have a woman that I don't feel like I could get. I would like to see the wife of the wealthiest man in the world be aspirational. Not like somebody, I broke up with her a couple of years ago. Now she's with the wealthiest man in the world. I don't get it. Anyway, there she is. That's Stephen Miller's wife. I would say she seems lovely, but she's married to Stephen Miller, so there is no way she's lovely. She is a monster woman. All right, so here are the rumors. Rumors claim that Katie Miller has left Stephen Miller for Elon Musk. Musk appeared with a black eye, sparking the wild theories online involving Stephen Miller. Katie Miller has officially left her role in the White House to work full-time as Musk's assistant. Okay. Okay. All right, so let's put all the pieces together that we know about Musk and his whole Washington thing, right? Musk came in, he was Doge, chainsaw, boo, does this thing. All the libtards are like, boo, you suck. This is ruining America. And then, Trump people are like, no, it's great. There's no more black people in the Smithsonian. And then people on the whole kind of got a little tired of all of that. And it started to hurt Tesla prices. And so that's when the Tesla board got involved. And they're like, hey, Elon, can't do this shit anymore. We need to dial it back, which also came coincidentally at a time when the White House was like, people are saying Elon's the president. And they didn't like that either. So Elon was encouraged to wrap up the whole Doge thing, and he left. Okay, bye-bye. They throw a nice little send-off for him on Friday. I promise you that entire send-off was because they're afraid of him. They're like, we want to make sure we keep Elon, in the good graces. Little drug monkey. He's so they throw him this nice little party on Friday. And then over the week, and then a couple of days later, the weekend goes by and a couple of days go by. And all of a sudden he's breaking bad on the administration and their big, beautiful bill, which is incredibly personal. Like if Elon Musk had any concern whatsoever for his relationship with Donald Trump, Elon Musk would have kept that thought to himself. Elon Musk would have been like, I can't publicly criticize the big, beautiful bill. It means way too much to the big guy, right? No, he didn't do that. Elon Musk, and honestly, you know, I know Elon shrouded it in this sort of idea of this, I'm doing this for the people. I cannot abide, as the world's wealthiest and most influential individual, I just cannot abide the people being subjected to this awful, awful bill, right? That's his whole thing, to which I'm calling bullshit on. And then his new assistant is Stephen Miller's wife, and he's talking bad about the White House. There's something going. Elon is fucking with these people. He's stealing their wives. He's fucking with their big, beautiful bill. He's confusing all of these MAGA people who don't know, do they like Elon or do they not like Elon? Because originally they didn't like Elon because he made electric cars for Hollywood liberals. But then because he couldn't get batteries delivered to his Detroit factory back during COVID, he became incredibly right-wing. Remember, he backed the truckers boycott and blockades and all that, and that became a huge thing. All right, so now all of a sudden, the guy who makes fucking electric cars for libtards in Hollywood is now all of a sudden one of them, denying COVID and all of that nonsense. Why was he denying COVID? Because the problems that surrounded, you know, the COVID breakout and these government rules that started to spring up, these restrictions that we all had to face, they were bad for Elon Musk's business. And that is the only reason why he was upset about lockdowns and all of that kind of shit. So if you ever for a moment thought that Elon Musk was completely on the side of the MAGA movement, you're insane. Elon Musk, as the world's wealthiest person and most powerful and influential individual on this planet, cares for only one person, himself. And now he's fucking with the White House. And if you believe what people are saying, this puts them in a real, get the popcorn, ladies and gentlemen, get the popcorn, because it is fascinating when we contemplate how Trump and this team could respond. Do they want to piss off Elon Musk? Elon Musk don't give a fuck. Elon Musk has the very epitome of fuck you money. He doesn't care. He does what he wants when he wants. And now he's out there publicly shitting on something that the president really needs to go through. So I ask, when you combine that stuff with the weird send-off after a really negative job, like the whole Doge thing, it may have cut some money, but they got to go back and redo everything. It was done sloppy, and then Tesla's business model fell apart. After all of that, they throw him this little party pretending like it was a great success, and then like 72 hours later, he is shitting on their whole thing and stealing Stephen Miller's wife as his new personal assistant. Like, she's not in the Washington White House anymore, where Stephen Miller is. She's flying on a jet globally with Elon Musk, and it's making Miller nuts. Anyway, get your popcorn, folks. Get your popcorn. There is trouble brewing. All right. Oh, I just saw another picture of her. Now, she's pretty. She's kind of pretty. She's pretty, but I still stand by my whole, in the pre-Trump Washington era, she was probably one of the hottest chicks that wasn't on TV. Like in the pre-Trump Washington, D.C. era, the hottest chicks in Washington, D.C. were all chicks that were on, like, you know, Fox News and CNN, like reporters. Like, they were the ones that are on those. They weren't even politicians or aides or anything like that, you know. Now they're all hot. Now it's like, you know, job one, if you're a MAGA Republican, you got to hire the former fucking Miss Alabama to be your receptionist or something. I mean, it's just smoking chicks all over. All right, let's see here. Let's talk about something equally controversial. All right, let's talk about Pride Month. It's June 4th. Are you filled with pride the way I am? I am. Pride Month. It's 1 month a year where traditionally, or at least in recent tradition, we have all, well, we've done nothing. I got to be honest with you. I don't know that I have ever done a special thing for Pride Month. Not true. I've been to the Pride Parade many times. My radio station in Chicago used to have a float on the Pride Parade. So we did the Pride Parade a couple of times. That's fun, man. That was a crazy fun day. And that was back, like, we're talking like Pride Parade 1995, when the shit was really wild because nobody was paying attention. Like, it was, you couldn't even, you know what I mean? Like 1995, like Ellen hadn't even been kicked off TV for announcing that she was gay yet. It was a different time. So the Pride parades, didn't have all the corporate sponsorship and all that. They were really just kind of fucking these debauched kind of carnivals that would go through the gay neighborhood of the town. But in Chicago, I mean, it was a big event because there were a lot of gay dudes. You know, I guess there were a lot of gay dudes and dudettes, and you know, it was a big community. So our radio station was proudly a participant in the Pride parades. We loved it. We had a great time. Okay, so that's, I guess, the extent of how I have in the past celebrated Pride. How are you supposed to? As a heterosexual guy, I'll tell you what, here's how I celebrate Pride. Here's how I celebrate Pride Month. And maybe you can all join me. And, you know, honestly, if all of us celebrated Pride Month this way, there would be no need for Pride Month. All right, here we go. Here's how I celebrate Pride Month. I don't even fucking think about it. I don't even think about it. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. But I'm also not going to be hostile about it. Like if you're like, oh, it's Pride Month. Like I'm not going to walk by a bar, you know, maybe it's a gay bar, maybe it's got a sign and we celebrate Pride. I'm not going to walk by a place that has a, you know, we celebrate Pride and be like, oh, fuck that place. You know, I'm not that either, right? I'm just like, gay, still a thing? Like, I know gay is a thing, but at this point, I think that gay is as much as of a thing as being a redhead. The same thing. Not a whole lot of them. You know, well, I mean, there's a lot of them, you know what I mean? They're not like, you know, super rare, but they're not, you know, how do I say it? I almost said they're not normal. That's not what I mean. Well, we all know redheads aren't normal. They're soulless. But my point is this. Being gay doesn't make you special. Being gay doesn't mean that I need to treat you any different. I don't fucking care. And I think that so many of us, so especially, you know, people who have grown up in the past 20 years, there's an entire generation of people who are not like the rest of us, who have seen gay be mainstreamed on TV and movies and all that. I mean, my God, it was as recent as the mid-90s where the actor Rupert Everett, remember this guy, Rupert Everett, the actor? He like shocked the world. He was in My Best Friend's Wedding with Julia Roberts. He like came out openly. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm a Hollywood actor. I do movies with Julia Roberts where she's like fucking hot for me and shit, and I'm gay. Or I don't know, maybe in that movie he was gay too. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. I didn't see it. It was a chick flick. My point is this. It was a big controversy that this actor in Hollywood in the mid-90s was like, yeah, I'm gay. So we live in a different world now, right? I mean, we know that everybody in Hollywood's gay. That's just the thing. Everybody, you look at me like, oh, they're gay. They're all gay. Everybody in Hollywood's gay. It's not a thing. So the story about Pride Month here that we're seeing is another, you know, think piece by somebody about why corporate America and why brands this year are, you know, stepping back from being so in your face about the Pride support. And there's also a very interesting story here about how some of these, you know, very, very dependent on corporate sponsorship LGBTQ organizations are fighting back and fighting back really dirty because they want their money. They want their money. This is no different than the pharmaceutical industry. You know, the pharmaceutical industry, you ever hear that argument? How come they don't ever cure anything? And then somebody will be like, because there's no money in the cure. There's money in the treatment. There's money. The pharmaceutical company is not going to spend $1 trillion over the next 20 years trying to cure cancer, because in that same period, they'll make 50 billion trillion treating your cancer. That's how the world works. So we are. We're humans, okay? So pride organizations that have become big business, because when corporate America was, you know, basically feeling the heat and thinking maybe we ought to step up and get more involved, and they did, and that went on for about 20 years or so, those corporate entities and their endless sponsorships of these LGBT organizations ended up with people who were the presidents of these local chapters making like 200 grand a year for their little side. It became an industry unto itself. In the comparison that I make to these LGBT groups, the comparison that I make to them in the pharmaceutical industry is thus. They don't want gay homophobia or whatever to go away entirely, because if it does, then they've got no reason to be loud and proud. At that point, if they're not an oppressed part of our society, and they're not, gays haven't been oppressed in this society for 20 years. Stop it. But if they're not an oppressed part of society, what are they during Pride Week? Just loud, weird perverts dancing naked on the back of a float, right? So their whole business model, their whole movement, their whole life, my life is the struggle. They don't want the struggle to be over. They want their place in the struggle to be maintained, okay? So now if I was a corporate sponsor, that's kind of how I would be thinking about it. I'm like, man, I don't really need to sell hard that I like gay people. Doesn't everybody, I mean, is that still a thing? Do people just hate gay people because they're gay? That's where we got to get to mentally as a people. We got to just start to recognize that this isn't a problem anymore. Oh, yeah, you're an entitled white guy. Oh, shut up. I know plenty of gay dudes. They're great. They have no problems in life. They have a great life. They're educated. Some are in relationships. Some are big old whores. I got one gay friend. He's a big old whore, and I call him a big old gay whore. They're just people, man. And that's why I say they're like redheads. Okay, so they're not as common. If you meet 5 random strange guys you've never met before and you start having a drink, chances are none of them are going to be a redhead and none of them are going to be gay. But if one of them was a redhead, it wouldn't mean anything. You wouldn't be like, I don't drink with redheads, right? So let's get past this fucking thing where we're still pretending like gay and lesbian people in this society are somehow one of the more oppressed. That they're not. Gay people are fine. We all know that. We're good with it. Now, I will say this. I will say that, the trans people, they're going through some shit in this era. The trans people. So maybe that's what you focus on them. Maybe you focus on, trans tolerance or something like that. Because if you're telling me that trans people in America are an oppressed part of our culture, I would say absolutely they are. I mean, I have people that I know who I've heard say things and I'm like, ooh, fuck, ooh, right? So I know when people are still comfortable with, subjugating a class of people publicly and they don't, not quiet about it or keep it to themselves, then that's probably a problem. I don't see that with gays anymore. I mean, there hasn't been, I can't remember, though, if it was 1988 and I was in a room and somebody said, hey, the new guy we hired is gay. Yeah, it might have been in the 80s where somebody'd be like, fuck that, fucking faggot. What do we got, a faggot working here? That was like 1988. Do you know how weird it would be if someone poked into your office right now and went, hey, the new guy we hired is gay? That would be weird in 2025 because people are like, so the fuck what? What? So I don't know. I think Pride Month served a purpose, the 70s, San Francisco, and all that kind of stuff, and it raised awareness. But it's just a bloated corporate entity now, the LGBTQ movement, trying to sell us that gays and lesbians are the oppressed class. I ain't buying it. All right, I have not been looking at the chat room because I've been on another page, but I'm now going to look at the chat room, and it is my hope that Adam Reyna is losing his shit. Let's see. Oh, I don't even see Adam in here today. Oh, man. All right, let's keep going. All right, there we go. Pride Month taking it on the chin. Down, advertising-wise, over 25% from last year. So there are companies that are like, yeah, we're good, man. We're good. Gay people can shop here if they want. We don't really... It just seems so silly. Pride Month. Crazy Plane Lady. Remember Crazy Plane Lady from a couple of years back? She was on a plane here. I think she's local. I don't know. She turned out to be really hot, right? I don't know. Anyway, she's crazy plane lady. I think she's isn't she a MAGA crazy too though? I don't know. I don't know anything about her. I just know I saw a bikini picture of her and I was like, okay, spank bank. I'll remember that. But she was the lady who was on the plane and she was like, that dude is not real. Remember, she was like having some sort of a hallucination on the plane. It was a Southwest flight and they had to drag her off and everybody's filming her. And she's like, that guy is not there. I don't even know what it was. And I can go find it really easy, but I don't want to. But I'm going to tell you this. She's got a new job. She's got herself. Tiffany Gomas is her name. Apparently her 15 minutes are going to stretch into about 15:30. Here we go. The crazy plane lady is now the safe for work lady. Tiffany Gomas, whose notoriety. Hold on. Let's see what this is. Oh, fuck you. Pop-ups. Just trying to read something. You're going to kill me with pop-ups. Tiffany Gomas. Oh, do we have the video? No way. Oh, was it that easy? No, it's not. Never mind. Tiffany Gomas, whose notoriety took flight. Oh, so clever. 23-year-old recent journalism student grad right in here. Let's see here. Tiffany Gomas, whose notoriety took flight after she had a caught-on-camera meltdown on a plane in 2023, is getting a new career. The 40-year-old, she's 40? She looks good for 40. The 40-year-old marketing executive and entrepreneurial trailblazer, if she does say so herself. What is that? That's a lot of letters for a business card. She's a marketing executive and entrepreneurial trailblazer. And when we say marketing executive, we mean she has just tried to profit off of that weird video she was caught up in back a couple of years ago. I have marketed my humiliation. That's what she has done. That's a marketing executive. That happened 2 years ago, and you're talking to me today. I'm obviously good at marketing my humiliation. Do we know what that was about? What'd she take? She on drugs? What was that about? She takes some drugs and then, she like drank, a couple of somethings. And then all of a sudden she's like, that dude there is not real. Here's what she's doing. She had been rumored to be joining OnlyFans, which features adult content. But no, instead she's on something called Passes. So she's joined a group called Passes. Passes forbids explicit material. Tiffany promises unfiltered, unexpected, and unapologetic material from her life. Oh, here's the picture. Oh, yeah. All right, here we go. I don't have the video handy, but you remember this chick, just so you know what we're talking about. There she is. Look at her. She's like, that man. She's pointing at somebody, and she's screaming, that guy is not there. That guy is not real or something. I don't know. It's like something really cryptic and vague and just enough to be kind of creepy, but also funny. I mean, it just had all the secret sauce for something that was going to be viral. And on top of it, and this is where the real payoff is great for her, when we first saw this, okay, one of the reasons that's kind of went viral, at least for men, and I'm going to be honest about it because it's true, when this first went viral, every guy is watching it going, I can't tell. Is she hot? Is she hot or not? And then like a couple of weeks later, we got the payoff. Yeah, she's hot. She doesn't look great here. She's tripping balls probably, but she is hot. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Gomas will share behind the scenes looks at my chaos, workouts, pups, oh shit. So it's stalkers. We have commoditized stalking. Look at her. There she is. Yeah, man. She's a piece. That's a body. She's a piece. She seems to be nutty as a bag of hammers. And I don't even know if a bag of hammers is nutty, but you get the point. She is hot though. She's 40. Looking good for 40. All right. For 40, I'm like 80. I'm like 80 years old. I'm like, she looks good for 40. What was my point here? I think I lost my point on her. Sorry, I'm working my back out a little bit. Gomez made national headlines when she held up her fellow passengers on an American Airlines flight from Dallas to Orlando after barreling to the front of the plane and saying she was going to deboard because, quote, here's the quote, motherfucker back there is not real. Did we ever get an answer to that, you guys? All right, I don't care. Whatever. She's joining like a weird stalker platform. Okay, that's what she's doing. That's the big announcement. That's why. Okay, so, and again, have we commoditized stalking now? Like these used to be people that, you know, you would stay away from and you get the police involved in it. But now we're going to charge them $9 a month and they can watch us on their laptop. That's what we're doing. Okay, that's fine. Lean into it. I mean, if you can't stop people from being crazy stalkers with women, want to make a little scratch off of it. So that's what she's doing. She's doing that. But did we ever find out? What was she talking about? Come on. Somebody's got to know. Does nobody know what she was talking about when she said that motherfucker right there ain't real? Because again, like I say, it's so cryptic and it's so, I don't know, just weird. Anyway, there she is. Tiffany Gomez. Let's see here. What do we got? What do we got? Nope, don't want to do that. I do want to do that. All right, we got a bunch of stuff I want to do. All right, guys, here's what I do want to do, though. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to run to the bathroom, and as I've been telling you for a while, it's already been 2 hours. Look at us. Look at us. We are going. Oh, shit, it's been 2 hours. Nah, I got to wrap it up. See, this is the problem. It's fucking Pledge Week. I can't even make it. I can't keep going. I'm sorry. I love you guys. I just got stuff I got to do. All right, that's going to do it. There are some other things that I wanted to talk about, but there's always time tomorrow because we do this every day for now. Every day around about 2 o'clock, we'll come in and we'll do what we just did here. No, says that June is now President Taco Month. Hey, the libs on the left, they really seem to have scored with that one, huh? You know, the taco. Trump, because remember, okay, so what's the origin of this? So the Wall Street has a new term, and they call it a taco trade. And I don't know what does it stand for? Taco trades on Wall Street. Taco stands for Trump always caves. O? What is the O? Okay, Trump always caves. Anyway, Trump always caves is what they call a taco trade. He's like, that's another taco. And Trump was asked that by someone, a reporter in the Oval Office. Trump, what do you think of the Wall Street making fun of you, calling your shenanigans taco trades? And Trump went off. Like, you could tell, like anybody who even has the slightest ability to be able to read people and to see when a button's been pushed, you could tell that really fucking bugged him. And to the left's credit, because the left sucks at this. The right, Mag, is fucking brilliant at this. Hey, fucking let's go, Brandon. You know, all of that. The left, the right is brilliant. The left sucks at it. You know why? Because the left, even though they're some of the worst people on the planet, they try not to be mean. Right. So in their fight, they're going to win with honor because that's who the left is. That's why they're so fucking irritating. So anyway, the left isn't usually good at this, but they have really kind of leaned into the taco thing about Trump. And it seems to be catching on. It seems to be like I see it everywhere. I see it all over the place. And I think it hurts. I think it's one that hurts them. I think they got them. They scored a point. There you go. All right. What else do we have here? Nah, I really do. I got to wrap it up. I mean, I was going to rant on more big Texas government bullshit. I was going to rant on that. You see this story about Texas now? Because we deal with the important things. Don't ever say that your Texas legislator doesn't do anything. They do a lot. They get a whole bunch of shit passed. And you know what the most recent thing is that the Texas state legislature is doing? They're going to label Skittles now. Yeah, Skittles. Because, you know, Texas is about freedom and we're all grown-ups and all that kind of stuff. The fucking nanny state here in Texas is in absolute full swing. It is. They're going to now, because of RFK Jr.'s whole thing, every food from Skittles to Mountain Dew, everything is now going to have a giant fucking X and skull and crossbone, like cigarettes. Remember how they did with cigarettes? So now they're going to do that. Not nationwide. No, here in Texas. Just here in Texas, we're going to have our nice branding packages all defaced with like a skull and crossbones. Stupid Texas. I swear to God, these people. And they're only passing it to kiss RFK Jr.'s ass. That's the only reason. This is something that he is backing. No other state is willing to do it, but Texas, we're first through the door. What? What's that RF? Good Lord, how embarrassing. Anyway, I love Texas. I choose to live here. Do I choose to live here? I do. I choose to live here. As a matter of fact, I choose at great peril to myself to live here. There are probably other places that I could live where I would be a raging success. But here I'm just among friends. And you know what? That's enough for me. And that's why I love my home here. But don't get me wrong. That's stupid. That's fucking stupid. Really? Can you get back to arguing about the weed? Get back to arguing about weed. You're gonna try and take Skittles away from me, or you're gonna try and fat shame me the next time I eat a ding dong by some big stupid label. Really, Texas? You're embarrassing yourselves. This is not important. You know what's important? Not labeling a single can of Mountain Dew, okay? A single can of Mountain Dew is fine. A single ding dong is fine. A single batch of Skittles is fine. But if you really want to make an impact, what you got to do is, instead of forcing all of these companies to now do new branding and buy new shit because everything's got to have this new government warning on it. Congratulations, small business. You're about to get a fucking monthly expense that you didn't expect. So instead of doing that shit, huh? How about instead we just invest in like teaching people to fucking not put Mountain Dew in their baby's bottle? How about that? How about we just try and tell people or teach them to not have, you know what? Look, if your kid is 4 years old and he looks like a fucking shrubbery, he's 4, he's 80. Isn't that cute? No, it's not. I see a lot of fat babies, like not just fat babies, but fat toddlers. And I'm like, holy shit, this is where it starts. That fat toddler is going to be a fat 6-year-old. He's going to be a fat 10-year-old. He's going to be a fat 12-year-old. He's going to be a fat 20-year-old. And he's not going to be a fat 80-year-old because he's going to die of a massive heart attack as a fat 50-year-old. That's what we need to do. We don't nanny state people. We don't try and shame them. Oh, I want to eat this ding dong, but I'm looking at a dead fat person on the cover. No, we can be better. We have this capacity. But, government likes to make rules. They like to make laws and bureaucracy and more nonsense. And in this very real situation, they're going to fuck over a lot of small businesses who are now going to be like, fuck. We can't afford to redo all our packaging for this year's run. Texas, we're about liberty. We're about small business. We're about the working man. No, we're not. We're not about any of that. We're about billionaires raping stupid middle-class people. And the only reason I imply stupid there is because we seem to keep electing these same motherfuckers over and over again. That's going to do it, everybody. I'm out of here. Thank you.